Hello, my name is Eleanor. I am the SEO strategist at Contrast, and we're going to be talking today about e-commerce keyword research. So today we'll be looking at what keyword research is and why to do it, followed by looking at what the content funnel is and therefore what that means for the specific keywords that you're going to be trying to target. The commercial value of keywords, as obviously you want to know that you're choosing keywords that are actually going to make you money in the end. And then how to actually do the keyword research, as well as what to do with the data that you've gathered and how to implement it on a website. So what is keyword research? Keyword research is essentially finding the terms that you want to optimize your website for in order to get traffic. Simple as that. Why do you want to do it? It stands to reason that you would like people to actually find your website and find the products that are on it and therefore buy them. So keyword research in itself is very helpful in understanding whether it will be difficult or not to rank for specific terms on your site, how much traffic you're likely to get or likely to not get by picking specific terms, the types of content that you can or should be creating in order to attract traffic to your website, and where that page may appear within the actual search engine results pages. So first and foremost, we're going to look at what the content funnel is. Keywords are all about the content that they're going to appear in. So in order to understand what keywords to put on a website, you need to understand what the content funnel is. Essentially, there are different types of content that you're going to have on your website. Some of them are for the awareness stage. So this is when people don't actually know who you are yet, but they're just looking for informational stuff that you might be talking about and therefore getting on your website. There's the consideration stage. So people may have heard of you, they may have looked at your products in comparison to other people's, and so therefore they're still considering whether or not to buy from you. And then there's the conversion stage. Like, I know that I want this particular product and I've landed on this website, so it's very likely that I'm going to buy it. It's called a funnel because people are likely to drop off at some point or another while they're in it. So somebody who's found you for a specific guide or something isn't necessarily going to buy for you. They might drop off. That's entirely normal, so I wouldn't worry about that. So the different stages of the content funnel, first of all, the awareness stage. So these are people who've got a kind of issue around whatever industry that you're working in. So say, for example, that you sell bike equipment. So say that these people are looking for how to fix the spokes on their wheels of their bike. They aren't necessarily looking to buy a bike or looking to buy a wheel or even necessarily to buy spokes, but they are just looking for answers around something within your particular industry. And therefore, if you write guides on that sort of thing and write them well and they rank, then that person would appear on your website. Later on, they might become a customer if you are writing loads of really interesting content for them. The middle of the funnel, consideration stage, these are people who are aware of what you're offering. They're just weighing up their options before making the actual decision to buy. So this is content they can write that are kind of comparisons between products and that sort of thing. And therefore you're trying to basically tip them into becoming a customer once they're in that stage. And then you've got the bottom of the funnel. These are your transactional customers. So these are people who know what they want. They've probably already been on your website. Maybe they got there through social media or they got there via ads or something like that. And now they know that they want to buy. You just have to make it as easy as possible for them to do so when they get on your website. Now that we've looked at the content funnel, we want to look at keyword intent and types of keyword. So keyword intent is one of the most important aspects of keyword research. It gives you a fundamental understanding of the types of keyword that you want to target, where they would sit on your website. So would they be on a blog? Would they be on your category pages? That sort of thing. How much traffic they might send to your website and the intention of the user landing on that particular page. So are you creating this because you want that guy to buy something, or are you creating it because you just want to attract traffic to your website? Both are valid. You just need to know what you're doing. So it's particularly important for e-commerce companies because the likelihood of you ranking for really, really competitive category terms, such as say bike wheels or something like that, is quite unlikely because you're competing against massive brands like Amazon and eBay and that sort of thing. So you're likely to want to look for informational type keywords in the awareness stage. But that doesn't mean that you don't want to optimize your other pages for the other terms, because in time you may likely rank for them, particularly locally. In terms of keyword intent, I'd say that there are about 5 distinct categories. So the first are generic or head terms. These are basically, think of it in terms of you have a shop and you want to organize that shop. Even a physical store is organized logically based on different types of product that you're offering. And so you want to do that on an e-commerce store as well, so that people can find things easily. Doing some of this research, even if you already know what you're selling, could help you to find different types of terms that you might want to target. So for example, you may not have thought of different subcategories to branch out in to also organize your store in. So if you did the keyword research and you found that in fact loads of people are looking for, say, spokes or silver spokes or something, then maybe that is a term that you would like to optimize a page for to get traffic to that page. So these terms are quite generic, therefore quite hard to rank for, but you do need them on your website to organize it and structure it in a way that people can find things when they're actually on there. And there's nothing to say that in time you won't be able to rank for them. So these terms are essentially navigational terms more than anything. That's the way to look at it, in my opinion. How do you organize your website? Then at the top of the funnel, you've got your informational terms. So whatever you're selling, people are bound to have a myriad of questions around that particular topic or industry. So it's a good idea for you to create some content around that. Granted, people aren't going to be buying immediately, but it will be useful in the long term to have a bank of content, particularly if you make really, really useful content that people remember and they keep coming to you for more advice in future. In time, they might become a customer. So these people simply have a question around a topic that you are likely to be able to answer. So this could be how-to guides, FAQs on your website, informational videos with instructions, some kind of resource for them to be able to fix something or make something or whatever. And you can create all of this content with ease because you work within that industry and therefore you have quite a lot of knowledge around it. So this might seem obvious, but a lot of people fall into the trap of actually writing completely irrelevant content on their website that has very little to do with what they actually do. So that's why doing this kind of research is important, to make sure that your customers are finding stuff that is interesting to them. Once people have come onto your website for informational guides or videos or whatever it is that you may have created, you can always retarget them via other forms of marketing that aren't necessarily SEO. You can remarket to them via Facebook or other social channels or via Google Ads, that kind of thing. So you can always send them tailored offers based on the fact that they've already been on your website. It's a good way to entice people back. So essentially with this kind of content, you want to be creating a little bit of brand awareness and engaging a community of people who you know will be interested in your products in the future, which is no easy feat today, but once you've actually cracked it, then you get a set of loyal customers. The really cool thing about this kind of content is that it can trigger what is known as featured snippets. So essentially, you've already seen these before. Whenever you ask a question in a search engine and you see either a table at the top or you see the answer to a question, or if you've asked Google or whatever search operator you're using a question and then they read out an answer to you, that is triggered by a featured snippet. So basically, you're basically owning a lot more search engine real estate because your listing isn't just the traditional SERP listing of like a title and a little description. You're actually having a big block with text and people can then go to your website. They don't always go to your website because sometimes you've already answered the question before they even have to. But having that kind of real estate in a search engine is pretty handy because it literally means that Google thinks that your answer is the top answer for that particular question. There are some really cool tools to find just inspiration in being able to find these kinds of questions. So there's a tool called Answer the Public. So you just put a topic, whatever that is, spokes, for example, I keep talking about those, or Keyword Shitter, that also will just spit out a ton of different ideas of questions that you can ask, and then you can put them in a keyword research tool that will give you potential volumes and difficulty for actually ranking for those terms. So there's loads of ways of finding them. So now we move on to consideration terms. So these are basically for people who are midway in the conversion funnels. So these guys know that they want to buy a particular kind of product. They just don't necessarily know that they want to buy it from you. They're weighing up their options. So these kinds of things, you've probably done it before yourself. Tips for buying mountain bikes, top mountain bike stores, that kind of thing. So you can create content around that. Not even necessarily on your own site. You could pitch with digital PR for somebody to write that and then link to your website. But it's a good idea to, for example, for certain products, if you sell, say, a range of 100 mountain bikes, you could pick your 10 best sellers and compare them against each other. So if somebody were looking for the top 10 mountain bikes of 2020, you would also have a list of those products. And most of those you already sell. So win-win, really. So as you're in the middle of the funnel and people know that they want to buy, and you're basically creating comparison content to kind of convince them as to which product to buy, hopefully buy it from you, the way that you write your content on these is quite important, and how you design the pages as well. You want as many call to actions for, like, not too spammy so that people are literally overwhelmed with buy here or stuff like that, but you want people to understand that they can buy from you quite easily, and you want to give them reasons to buy from you. So for example, if you offer an extended warranty period or things like that, that could be quite handy on those pages to convince them. Now we want to look at the bottom of the funnel terms. So these are basically your transactional terms. So these are for people, I know what I want to buy it, I just want to find a shop where it's reasonably cheap and I can get it very easily. So essentially, say, for example, a specific brand of winter biking glove. So if someone searches for that, you rank for it. You obviously want to have pages that are optimized for that specific term. You rank for it, they land on your website. All you need to do at that point is make sure that your page actually works and that they can buy it from you. So these terms are going to be really competitive, and the search volume is going to be a little bit lower than other terms. But because of the value of you ranking for that particular term, because of the likelihood of them being about to purchase from you, they're really, really valuable keywords. So you want to make sure that your product pages are optimized, and even some of your subcategory pages. Something that a lot of SEOs don't necessarily always talk about, and they don't necessarily always think about because they don't have to if they work in an agency. But if you work in-house, or you work very closely with a client who really wants you to look at this, you need to think about the commercial value of your keywords. You want to rank basically for all of them. That's the dream, right? But you need to think with regard to your strategy of which ones to start with. So what is the commercial value of your keywords? So for example, if you are pushed to make sales immediately, you obviously wouldn't start instantly by doing a ton of keyword research to find a bunch of informational terms to make guides and videos and that sort of thing, because you know that the people who are looking at that aren't necessarily going to buy yet. It is true that that long term is going to be your strategy to continue to get traffic to the website and hopefully convert them. But if your goal is immediate sales, then I would focus on transactional terms. I would focus on nailing all of your category pages, and then on all the comparison terms and that kind of thing. So now we come to how to actually do the keyword research for a e-commerce website. So first of all, you want to get a bunch of people that you work with, a bunch of your salespeople, to have a little think about all of the different terms that they think people might be looking for to find your website. You already know what you call your products, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what a customer calls them. So you want to think about both of those. So you want to basically thought map all of those core terms together, think about any subcategories that may fall under those, depending on the different types of product that you sell. So these are all going to be your seed keywords. You can then deconstruct these into the specific types of items. So for example, if you sell bike accessories, just have a little think of all of the different bike accessories that you sell. But then you not only sell handlebars, you'll be selling handlebars that are useful for mountain bikes, road bikes, racing bikes, that kind of thing. So these could all be subcategories as well. So once you've deconstructed all of that and come up with a pretty decent list at this point, you can then start to build out a site architecture if you haven't already built it, or if you can see that your website is already built but doesn't necessarily have all of these different subcategory terms, you could also start to add those once you've figured out which term you want to rank for. So once you've made up your list of seed keywords that you think people are going to be looking for, it's also a good idea to do some competitor research. So for this, you can use tools such as Ahrefs or SEMrush. both of which are paid, but you can have free versions as well. So it depends what your particular capabilities are. But you can basically look at a competitor's website and see all of the terms that they're trying to rank for, all of the subcategories that they've built on their website, the types of content that they're trying to optimize for. And both of those tools will show you the terms that they're trying to rank for and what page is trying to rank for them. So it's a good idea, if there's anything that you haven't thought of, to add that to the list as well. You can do Amazon research as well, because if you're an e-commerce store, I'm afraid that Amazon is always going to be a competitor as well. There's no getting away from it. So a really cool thing, when you type anything into the Amazon search bar, you'll start to see all of the different subcategories that Amazon believe are valid for that particular kind of industry. And there's a tool called the Amazon Keyword List, which basically is free and also enables you to see every single one of those subcategories that Amazon thinks are valid for that particular type of product. So again, this could be another way of either organizing your store, or it could be a good idea for another subcategory page, or even just a blog post. So I'm going to use the example of using Ahrefs as a tool. It's my preferred tool for no particular reason other than I'm just used to using it, really. But you've got all of your seed keywords from your research, you've got all of your research from your competitors, you've got all of the terms that you've researched from Amazon, and anything else that you've thought of doing other than that, and you put them in Ahrefs in their keyword tool, and it will come up with the list of those keywords as well as their own suggestions as well of different terms that you can target, and it will give you basically ways of finding new ideas as well. So there are different kind of elements to that particular tool. So there's all keyword ideas, so basically anything even vaguely pertinent related to whatever keywords that you've put in. So you can go through that list and add anything to your initial list as well. Phrase match, so essentially say you've put in mountain bike as a term that you're interested in. If you choose phrase match, it will show you any term that people are searching for that also includes mountain bike. So it could be free mountain bike or mountain bike saddle or whatever. As long as it contains mountain bike, it'll be in there. Having same terms, kind of like phrase match, but mountain and bike don't have to be in the same order. Also rank for, so this basically looks at websites that also are trying to rank for mountain bike, for example, and all of the other terms that they might be ranking for. Search suggestion, so this is all of Google's autocomplete stuff. So again, pretty handy. Newly discovered, these are terms that have just been added to the Ahrefs database. And questions, so this is really useful for all of your informational content. So if you're looking for blog posts and that kind of thing to write about, say, mountain bikes, then you could find loads of questions that people are asking about that kind of thing. Also really useful for your FAQ section. Basically, you've got the exact same thing in SEMrush with their keyword magic tool. It just looks a little bit different, but you basically get the same different kinds of lists of keywords that you can then add to a plan to start building your plan up. So once you've got all of these keywords, if your e-commerce store is big, you're going to have a ton of data. So which having to try and figure out how to group that data. So essentially, I would do that in the same way that you would categorize your store. Basically, you'd have all of the keywords related to BMXs, all of them related to mountain bikes, all of them related to hybrid bikes, electric bikes, etc., that kind of thing. And then within each page of that spreadsheet, so on the mountain bike sheet, you would basically categorize that by the different types of accessory and then also by the different stage of the funnel that a person might be in when they're looking for that particular keyword. So I would have all of my informational keywords at the bottom of that particular sheet that are related to mountain bikes. I would have all of the navigational terms at the top, etc., and just do it by stage of the funnel. So when you're grouping your keywords, you'll then be able to see all of the data that Ahrefs pulls in for you. So these look at metrics such as keyword difficulty. So in Ahrefs, that is a score out of 100. So basically, if you're 100 out of 100 on a keyword, then that is basically impossible to rank for. But the lower the keyword difficulty score, the easier it is to rank for, theoretically, according to Ahrefs. The volume, that is the average monthly volume for the geographic area that you've chosen. So in this example, it would be the UK. Then you've got the average monthly volume globally. just in case you do want your store to be international and want to see how many people, for example, in English are looking for these terms. Clicks. This one's an interesting one. The number is usually a little bit lower than the search volume, just because there are a certain amount of people who are looking for specific terms, but not necessarily all of them are going to actually click on that answer, even if you rank for it. So this pertains quite a lot to a lot of the featured snippets that I was talking about. If you've answered the question, or if a person answers a question before they even have to click on the website, why would they click onto the website? But still, it is valuable to hold those positions. And then you've got a tab called SF, which basically tells you what search feature different content typically appears for when it comes to that specific keyword. So when you search for a specific term, is it normally images that show up? Are there loads of shopping feeds? Is it Google Ads? Is it just your typical normal organic SERP features, or are there featured snippets? That kind of thing. So it's useful to know in order to know what kind of content you might want to create to stand out for that particular term. So at this point, you've compiled all your lists of different topical keywords, grouped them section by section of the site, and you know what keyword intent each one of them has. So it's up to you to pick the keyword that you'd like to rank for based on, I would say, perceived keyword difficulty and the volume. So you want to basically weigh up how many people are going to come to my site, but also how difficult is it actually going to be to rank for this particular term. One caveat I'd like to add is that it's not the early 2000s anymore, so you don't have to just pick a specific keyword and write it 86 times on the page. All of this is kind of common sense. You pick a keyword that you think people will search for, and search engines are intelligent enough now to be able to understand synonyms and just semantic words that basically are related to that particular keyword. So don't get stuck on, oh, it has to be this specific one and we need to write it loads on the page. You can just choose things because you think, oh, that is a really good opportunity to try and rank for that, because not a lot of other people are. Again, look at the commercial value of your keywords. So focus first on the ones that match your particular goals. If you're just looking for traffic, informational is probably the way to go, just because maybe you've already optimized all of your store and now you just need to get traffic to it to hopefully in time turn it into leads, or you immediately want to focus on sales, make sure you optimize all of your store first. So no page ranks for just one keyword anymore. If you look in your Google Search Console data, you'll see that for a specific URL, there are hundreds of terms that your particular page may have appeared for. People may have clicked on that particular result to get to your page, or maybe they didn't. I'd like to add a little special mention for Google Search Console and Google Ads as well when it comes to keyword research. So Google Search Console is a fantastic tool. It's free. I know it's provided by Google, but it does actually give you a lot of technical information that might be going wrong with your site. It can highlight some technical issues for you. But it also tells you what specific keywords your pages are actually appearing for and whether or not people are clicking through, what the click-through rates are, that kind of thing. So your page may already be optimized for a particular term, but you might see in Google Search Console that that term ranks, say, position 13 or something, you're on page 2, but actually there's a keyword that maybe has a little bit less search volume, but you're ranking 3rd already for it, even though your page isn't optimized for it, and it has a higher click-through rate. So you may well want to change the actual focus of that page to that keyword maybe. Also, another cool aspect of Google Search Console for keyword research itself, I think, is the fact that if you have a search functionality on your website, so where people can look for products and that kind of thing, you will be able to see all of the terms within Search Console that people have looked for. So if you notice that lots of people are looking for a very specific thing that you thought was quite obvious on your website, maybe you could make it a little bit more prominent within your navigation or within the internal links on your website, that sort of thing. And also, if there's a particular question that people are constantly posing, then maybe you could add that to your FAQ section, or it could inspire you to write a blog about that particular topic. So yeah, quite useful. So Google Ads Keyword Planner can help you understand how many people are searching for particular terms via ads alone. So it can also help you determine whether or not to create some landing pages on your websites for that particular kind of product that you could then either point ads to or try and rank organically for. It's also incredibly useful because of the amount of data that it can give you. So it will give you a specific term, the ad that appeared, and the text that was written on there to entice a person to click on that, the page that they landed on, and whether or not they bought something and how much that transaction was worth. So if you see in fact, you're not trying to rank for some terms that are already in AdWords, but you can see that they are converting loads, again, it could be worth looking at that data to then maybe optimize your pages for that particular term to try and rank for that. Previously, I'd have said that the search terms reported ads was really handy because it does in fact give you tons and tons of different search terms that people are looking for and questions that they ask about products. But that is no longer available, unfortunately. Well, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope that it's proven to be at least a little bit useful for you. And don't forget to download a keyword research example template by clicking the link in the description. And if you need any help with your e-commerce website, please get in touch.